highly recommend that you log into, like I said, erinsfit.com and register for the Zoom meeting so you can actually see the presentation, because it does help quite a bit. There are plenty of screenshots that are just fantastic. So that's that. Okay, so today we're talking about Whoop. So Whoop is a performance device. It is a tracking device. And I love it. Instagram is now paused due to poor connection. Whatever. Whatever. Okay. So it is a tracking device. It helps you track your sleep, your recovery, your activity, your behavior. It's really, really cool. So today we did kind of a general overview a month ago. So today we're actually going to look at the home screen and the journal. It's just kind of the first screen that you see for the interface on the app. And then the biggest tool that will help you in determining what is helpful to your recovery and to your training is the journal. Okay. So again, if you are not on the app, or if you're not on Zoom, I really encourage you to go on Zoom. Okay. So you guys, the home screen that you see when you open up your app will look something like this. It might look a little bit different depending on if you have Whoop Pro or not, or what you've set up for yourself. So at the very top, you're going to see the menu. You'll see today, and then you'll see the menu. You've got your battery level at the very top as well. Once your battery does hit 20%, it does turn red. So you know that you need to go charge your battery. All right. Now, we talked about last time, the battery charger for the Whoop is something that you can charge and place on the Whoop, so you don't have to stop and take your device off. So it's always tracking. So yeah, you got your battery level. You've got your main menu, which is your overview, your sleep, your recovery, and your strain information. We will go over those throughout the next couple of months. Underneath that is your recovery and strain score. So as your day goes on, that blue line, that blue circle is going to fill up slowly or more rapidly, depending on how active you are. Okay. You'll see that change, and it will track your cardio strain and your muscular strain if you're using your strength coach. So underneath that is the strain coach. It's your strain coach, your sleep coach. It's really cool. It gives you feedback at the beginning of the day. It'll change towards the end of the day, telling you if you need to start getting ready for bed or how many hours you should be preparing for sleep, stuff like that. And then underneath that, again, throughout the day, you'll see this change. At the beginning of the day, you'll only see your sleep from the previous night that's listed there. As you do activities, it will change throughout the day. And then we have our health metrics, your journal entry. That journal entry will change throughout the day as well. Once you've completed your journal entry for the day, it will show you what things have affected your recovery, and we'll go through that today. Underneath your journal information is your key statistics. You get to determine what key statistics you want there. So those are the ones that I've chosen. There are 10 key statistics that you can choose. And then those key statistics, you can also decide what you want up by your recovery and strain score. So if you look at mine, I have my heart rate variability and my sleep score. You don't have to have your heart rate variability there. You don't have to have your sleep score there. You can have calories there, or you could have your respiratory rate there. It's really up to you what you want to put there. So that is one of the ways that you can personalize it. Underneath the key statistics is your stress monitor. This is a newer tool to Whoop. So it does show you how stressed you are throughout the day. And we'll break that down a little bit later on. And then this is the biggest tool that I think is helpful to trainers, at least, is your strain versus recovery. So it shows you your recovery versus your strain and how that is over the course of the week, how you're balancing that. So when you're doing a lot of trainings, it's very helpful for you to be able to know if you are consistently overtraining, which is going to end up affecting your recovery. So that bar graph, or that little line graph, is super, super helpful in the big picture of things when you're looking at your training. So breaking this down now, we're going to go through each one of these components. Okay. So your strain and sleep coach. Okay. And then your strain and your recovery score. That's going to reset every day. It looks at the information overnight. It's going to look at your recovery score, is going to look at your baseline. So it takes a couple days for you to get your recovery score when you first get your Whoop. So you won't have a recovery score right away, because it has to determine what your baseline is. Okay, it's different for everybody. So it's going to look at your resting heart rate, your heart rate variability, your respiratory rate, your hours of sleep, and it gives you a score out of 100 every day. So Stacy's got a super high score today. Were you at 97 today, Stacy?
Yep, 97.
Yeah.
And
So the higher your recovery score, you should likely be able to take more strain and recover from it better. If you have a lower recovery score, you're not going to be able to recover from your strain. Now, there are 3 different ways that you see on the screen, on my screen, not on your screen, but on my screen, you'll see the recovery and strain score showed. Okay. The biggest one that you see there is actually the widget that you can put on your home screen. Okay, so that's not what you're going to see in the app. That's the widget that you'll see. Widget is such a weird word, but it is what it is. Okay, but that's the widget. So you've got the blue, which is your strain score, and you've got the green, which is the recovery score, and then you've got there's a little white line that's there, and that is your your optimal strain for the day. Now, I joke with friends and with Whoop that needs to be called Optimus Prime, because if I'm saying optimal and opta anything, it feels like it needs to be Optimus Prime. That's just how my mind works. So your Optimus Prime for the day is where that line is. And again, that's the widget. So there's not going to be a ton of information there. It's just going to be what you decide to be there. It's on your home screen, on your phone. So it's not going to show in the app. It'll show in the app a little bit different. The bottom one on the left-hand side is what you'll see in the app. So you'll see your strain score, you'll see your recovery score, you'll see the Optimus Prime, your optimal strain. And then you'll see that there's these dotted this dotted white line around the outside. It's really small to see, but that's like the range that they tell you to stay in so that you can better balance your strain and recovery. So if you are staying under your Optimus Prime, it's just, you guys, it's just what it's going to be called. Okay. If you're staying under your Optimus Prime, then you're prioritizing recovery. If you go over your Optimus Prime, then you're prioritizing gains. But remember, if you continue to prioritize gains without also giving your body adequate rest, your recovery is going to slowly decrease. So you need to make sure that you are balancing your excess strain with recovery. Okay. So underneath that bottom left one, it says, "Good afternoon, Erin." So this is probably about middle of the day, maybe the end of the day. You balance strain and recovery today, which will help maintain your fitness. Try to go to bed on time for peak performance tomorrow. So in the afternoon, it will give you that information, or in the evening, it will give you that information about how you balanced your strain and your recovery and what actions you need to take in order to compensate for excess strain, or to, if you have to have a peak day tomorrow, things like that. It will give you coaching cues so that you can better maximize. Okay. The one on the right is what you'll see in your coach. Now, in the app on the bottom, if we go back, the very bottom, there is a menu down here as well. So this one with the line, the little dot on it, it says coaching. It is a tool that you can use to help coach. Okay. So there are different ways that it will help you coach. It will let you do your sleep coach, your strain coach. And if you are a woman, it will take into consideration your menstrual cycle as well. So you can see on this one, this is obviously a different day or later. No, it's a different day, totally different day. I optimally balance strain and recovery for greater fitness gains. I could complete an additional activity of 17.8 strain to overreach. Now, again, overreaching is fantastic as long as you can also prioritize the recovery so you're not constantly overreaching, because then you're going to start to miss those gains. Okay. But at the bottom of it, you see strain tolerance is low. So my ability to adapt to the strain on my body is low at this point because of my resting or my recovery score, or because of where I am in my menstrual cycle. So both of those things are going to affect my ability to cope with strain. Okay. So again, you have on the widget, you have your battery percentage, or your Whoop band battery percentage. Okay. Your heart rate variability, you can decide these as well. I think with the widget, there are different ways that you can have it shown. So you do get to decide that. In the app, you'll see the little share button. So you can actually send that to individuals. You can share that information with people. If you look on my Insta stories today, I did that. And that was how I shared it to Instagram. And then on the bottom right one, where you see the recovery and strain score, it does give you the option to start activity as well. So in the coach option, or in the coach screen, you can start an activity from there. So again, just to review, you've got your recovery score. Great question, Brian. You've got your recovery score and you've got your strain score, okay? Your recovery measures how well your body adapts to mental, physical, and emotional stress. Your baseline is determined based off of heart rate variability, resting heart rate, respiratory rate, your hours of sleep, and it gives you a score out of 100, okay? Your strain score refers to the exertion you put on your body, both cardio and muscularly, okay? Because you can track both of them. Your day strain is the cumulative stress, the cumulative measure of all the strain that you built over the course of the entire day. It includes your activities and also the strain you might accumulate just from doing like regular life. A lot of times when you wake up and you just look at your app or your read in the morning, you'll see that you already have a 4 or a 5 point strain just from getting up. The stress of getting up in the morning, the strain it puts on your body will already just give you a 4 or a 5 point strain. Okay, your strain is it goes up to 21. You don't actually reach 21. You might hit 20.9, but you can't actually hit 21. Okay. So that's that. Brian did ask here how much the band is. It does depend. You can get a month free. I can give you a code and you can get a month free. You do get the band for free. It is a membership. So you either pay monthly or 6 months or 1 month or whatever, however you want to do this. And as most of you guys know, once you get yours, you also get a code that you can share. And when somebody signs up with your code, then you get a free month as well. So if you sign up for more months, a longer period subscription, then you get a better deal on it. I've been using Whoop for 4 years now. I think it's been 4 years, 3 or 4 years, and absolutely love it. I've had months where I haven't had to pay, and I think I paid for like 3 months out because I was like, oh, there's a deal, so I'm just gonna jump on now. And then they add the free months to the end of your subscription. So once your subscription renews, you just don't have to pay until that subscription is up. So okay, so that is the recovery and the strain score. It is a broad overview of the recovery and the strain score. Do you guys have any questions about the recovery and the strain score before we move on? So entertaining, I know. And the Optimus Prime. Okay. I love it. Okay, so the next thing is the coach bit. Okay, so there is the coaching bit that you'll get in the morning. It will give you information for the day. In the evening, it will give you information for the night. So it's going to change throughout the day. I have a lot of different fun colors. You can get different bands, and it's really fun to match with your outfits. But you don't have to. For the first year, I just wore the black band all the time. I was like, I don't really care. And then it got to be a fun thing. So, okay, so your strain coach. Your strain coach is usually going to show up in the morning telling you what your strain should look like. It's really fun to read these things. Sometimes they're a little passive aggressive and it's hilarious. So sleep is key to building recovery. Try to squeeze a short nap in today or get to bed earlier than usual to accelerate recovery. So a lot of times you'll see the focus on sleep and rest because you are red. You may see things, again, your journal plays into this, depending on the habits that you're tracking. They may say like, hey, alcohol will play a role in your recovery. And if you tracked alcohol, it's funny because your score won't change regardless of what your journal entries are. Your score is going to be your score no matter what, because it's reading your body metrics, right? And I used to think that maybe the score would change. So I would check my recovery first, and then I'd go do my journal, and then I'd go back and see if my recovery would change, because I was like, how much are you playing me here? And it won't change based on the answers that you've given in the journal, but it will learn from that. It knows that, like, I have a friend that I don't drink alcohol typically. Like very, very rarely do I drink alcohol. So my Whoop knows that if I'm experiencing a low recovery, it's probably because I'm overstressed or I'm about to get sick. My friend who does drink, if she's got a red recovery, they're like, you probably went out drinking last night, didn't you? Like, it'll call her out on things. So your Whoop does learn from your behavior patterns. So that's why it's really important to utilize the journal if you're wanting to see those trends and how the trends really affect you. So you will get different, like I said, different information from the sleep or the strain coach telling you how to set up your day, or maybe what you want to work on for your strain or what you want to look at for your sleep. But yeah, it's a really helpful tool. Sometimes it does act a little bit shady. Like I said, it's a little passive aggressive in some of its comments. So you balance strain and recovery today, which will help maintain your fitness. To peak tomorrow, try going to bed a bit earlier. You need more sleep than usual because your sleep debt is higher. So if you are consistently not getting enough sleep, it will call you on it. Like you are not getting enough sleep. You have sleep debt. Okay. You need to make up for your sleep debt. It will tell you if you have sleep debt and you take a nap, it will be like, hey, that nap today really helped you with your sleep. So now you don't have to get as much tonight or whatever, because it will correct, or it will take that into consideration. A red recovery signals that you may need extra rest today. If this is the case, take it easy and consider a brisk walk outside to boost your energy levels. So it does consider things like that: access to fresh air, natural light, simple movements, simple active recovery movements, stuff like that. And then if you're looking at not red stuff, the green stuff is fun because it's like, go for it, have fun, right? It's like, you have a great recovery today, utilize that, all right? But like the yellow recoveries, you went beyond your optimal range for additional gains today. Be careful not to do this too often, as it can result in overtraining and injury. Yep, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about Whoop. That's what we're talking about, Eddie. Okay. And then maintaining baseline. Yellow recovery suggests your body is adequately recovered. Today is a good day to build moderate strain. Your optimal strain, Optimus Prime, target is 11.1. So it will tell you this is what would be good for you to hit today. If you go beyond it, it's fine. You'll see more gains. But again, if you continue to do that pattern, then you're going to be overtraining and you might see some injuries. So it's a really helpful tool. Again, sometimes it's a bit shady, but overall it's fine. Okay. Now, the sleep coach element of this, as the day goes on, as you get closer to evening, it will pop up with your alarm code. You can always set this in the coaching tab as well. So down at the bottom, you would click on to coaching, but you can set your alarm here. You can actually set a schedule too. So I have perfect. I have my schedule set for Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. Saturdays, I get up at 7, and on Sundays, I get up at 8. Okay. That's a great question, Brian. So Brian says, how much time did the band take to learn about what you do, or compare it with a regular person? So with everybody, regardless of your fitness level, it's going to look at, it's constantly learning. So my baseline may change, and so it will adjust to that, but it does take a couple days for it to determine what your baseline is. So maybe like the first week, you may not see a recovery score because it's figuring out what is normal for you, what resting heart rate is normal for you, what heart rate variability is normal for you. It has to figure that out first before it can give you your strain score. My heart rate variability is going to be very different from, say, Emily's, or my resting heart rate is going to be very different from Emily's because she has a heart condition. So what my baseline is going to be very different from what her baseline is. So you don't compare your heart rate variability or your resting heart rate to another individual, just like your body. Okay. But, but there are guidelines, general guidelines for like, this is what is typical, but everybody is different. Everybody is their own person. So we kind of have to take a look at that as well. So yes, exactly, Eddie. It's so smart. And it knows that before you tell it you drank alcohol. It knows that it's like, you drank last night. I can tell you drank last night. So yeah, so it'll, like I said, the alarm will pop up. You can click on it and you can set it. So the far right is what you would see if you click on the alarm. And it'll tell you if you go to bed, or if you want to get up at this time, then you need to go to bed at this time to reach 100% of your sleep need. Okay, so it will look at that. And as you get later and later in the day, if you pass that time, so this said go to bed by 11:30 to achieve 100% of the sleep need. If it's midnight, my Whoop would then say you're going to get this percentage of your sleep need instead of 100%. So it does change as that goes on. You can set what you want your like your day like tomorrow. So if you know what, I'm not actually going to be working out tomorrow, I know that I'm not going to have to push very hard, you could change that. So instead of having peak performance, I just need to maintain, or I need to prioritize rest. You can do that in the oh my gosh, the alarm. Okay. And then underneath is you can set, so you guys, I'm so spoiled now. I hate it when audio alarm clocks go off. It drives me nuts because my Whoop band vibrates. Stacy, do you use the oh my gosh, it's so nice. It's so nice. Okay. So my Whoop band will vibrate now instead of having a alarm clock on my phone go off. So one of the things we hear a lot from people just as trainers, we know, whoops, hold on. Okay. We know that we are not supposed to have, you guys hear me? It sounds weird. Okay. We know that we're not supposed to have blue screens before. There we go. Okay. Nah, it's not. It's not switching back. Okay. We know, can you guys hear me okay? You guys can hear me okay? It's fine. Okay, cool. We know we're not supposed to have blue screens before bed, right? And one of the reasons people are like, well, I have to have my phone there because I use it for my alarm and I don't want to trip across my room having to turn my alarm clock in the morning. And sometimes that's a great thing because it gets you up and out of bed. You don't hit the snooze 5 times. But when your phone is right there, even having it there can cause disruptions in your sleep. Okay. So when you have your band on instead, your band vibrates and you can have it set so that your alarm will go off at an exact time when you reach 100% of your sleep or when you reach a certain recovery. So you guys can decide how you want it to go off. So if you're on vacation and you're like, I don't have to get up at a certain time, I can sleep however late I want to, you can set the alarm. So it's like, once I've reached 100% of my sleep, then I'll get up. It's fine, but I don't have to get up at 6 a.m. You can set the alarm to do that and it will vibrate. Okay. It's we do laugh about it because sometimes I feel like I look like a seal slapping my wrist in the morning. And what's funny is I do feel like my Whoop knows, because it can sense where your heart rate is at, and it based on your heart rate and your breathing patterns, and it can sense where you are in a REM cycle. It will go longer periods of time if it knows that it's like waking you up in the middle of a deep sleep. I don't know, Stacey, if you've experienced that. There are sometimes, oh my gosh, it's hilarious. There are sometimes my Whoop alarm goes off and I'm like, cool. And that's all it takes. But there are other times when I am deep in it and I'm like, shut up. I'm like, Whoop, yes. Whoop knows. It's like, no, I need to really make sure that you're awake right now because I know that you are in deep. So it's really funny. Sometimes it is harder to turn it off because it knows that you were in such a deep sleep and you do need to get up. So you can set the schedule. You can set, if you want it, a hard wake up call, if you want it when you reach a certain percentage, things like that, when you reach your sleep goal or when you're in the green. And then your sleep coach, it's just like the strain coach. It will tell you like, hey, you should start getting ready for bed now. It's great when it's 4 p.m. in the afternoon and your Whoop is like, you've had a rough day. Like, yeah, but it's 4 and I have kids, so I'm still not going to bed till 10. But thanks, Whoop. So super cool. The sleep coach is fantastic. Again, sleep is it's so overlooked, but it's so necessary. Okay, so please, please, please don't pass over the sleep coach because it is really helpful. And the alarm is probably one of my favorite things about this now. I don't murder people that have audio alarms, but it does set me off in the morning. I'm like, I don't like that. So it's great. Okay. Underneath the the sleep or the recovery and the strain score and the sleep coach is going to be your activities for the day. So like we said before, right when you wake up in the morning, it's going to process your sleep. So it may be that the sleep is the only thing that you see, or it could still be processing your sleep. You would still see sleep, but it would just say processing instead. Okay. We will on another call, on another meeting, go over what it looks like, because you can click on those and see information about the activity and about your sleep patterns and what that looks like. And it's super cool. If you are a data nerd, oh my gosh, it's just really, really fun. So yeah, so what we're seeing on this one, you see one activity and you see the sleep from the night before. Okay. The strain activities are going to be the darker blue. Will automatically detect activities where your heart rate is elevated for more than 15 minutes. You can turn that off if you don't want it to do that. Sometimes it's funny to see what it picks up on. I think Caitlin was in the sauna one time and it started to pick up on the fact that she was in an activity and she's like, I'm just sitting in the sauna. But because her heart rate was up, it picked up on it. You may see that the recovery activities don't automatically detect necessarily. If you're doing stretching, we did stretching class today, it will not pick up my stretching class. It will not pick up when I'm doing, it depends on the restorative class. If I'm doing circle, it'll pick up on it because my heart rate is actually getting up a little bit, but it won't pick up on classes that are really true, like restorative classes with your heart rate. Okay. It may pick up on naps or periods of rest where your heart rate does get closer to its resting heart rate. So that's really cool, but it doesn't always pick up on them. It just depends on how deep the sleep is. So you have to take a look at that and be careful with that. If an activity for some reason does not automatically detect, or you have it turned off to automatically detect, you can add your own activity by pressing the plus button that's down at the bottom right of the screen. Okay. When you press that button, you have all of these options. You can create a Whoop Live, you can adjust or fill out your journal. You can use your strength trainer, add an activity, or start an activity. So if you're going to go for a run and you want to measure how far the run is, you can start the activity before you run. So, okay, here I go. Do your run, come back. It will track all the data from the activity, including the distance that you ran. It'll show you a little map. It will track you. We did this when we were in Switzerland. We had our Whoop track our hike. So it tracked the distance that we hiked, how long it was, the elevation of the hike, our heart rate during the hike. It was really cool. So you do get a lot of statistics on things like that. If you're doing a activity if you're doing HIIT, it's not going to track your location when you're doing HIIT because it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't need to measure the distance. So if you're doing a bike ride, it'll track that. So it'll track it based on what the activity is. So you can start your activity if you want that data. If you don't want that data, if it picks up on the fact that it's a run, so it starts to learn like, okay, this is what it looks like. This is what her body does when we're doing these types of activities. It will automatically, okay, she's out for a run right now. She's moving. Okay, so this is probably a run or a bike ride or something like that. And it will start to track it for you. Once you put in afterwards, if it automatically detects, you will select what type of activity it was, where your Whoop was. Like if you were wearing it on your wrist, then you put it on your wrist, you just say wrist. If you had it on a bicep band, if you had it in leggings, that's one of the things too. I know we talked about before, you don't have to wear it on your wrist. There are leggings, there are bras, there are shorts, there are swimsuits, there are underwear that you can put the Whoop band in, so you don't always have to have it on your wrist. So yeah, so if you miss an activity, you can always add the activity. The strength trainer, which we'll talk about again on another call, is a very, very valuable tool. This Whoop is the only fitness tracker that tracks your strength, your muscular strain. It is the only fitness tracker that tracks your muscular strain. Okay, so most of the trackers will track your strain on your heart, your cardio strain, which is totally fine. But I definitely feel like there are times I do a strength workout and I'm like, that killed me. And then I look at how much strain I got from that strength workout and it's like 5.8. I'm like, are you kidding me? Because your heart if you're not doing cardio, like you definitely get a workout when you're lifting weights. Your heart is definitely working, but the capacity to which it is working when you're lifting weights is very different than how hard it's working when you're doing a HIIT class. So it's a different type of strain on your body, but it is still a hard strain. So using the strength trainer gives you a better example or a better representation of what strain your body experienced during a strength training workout. So we'll talk about, like I said, we'll talk about that another month, but it's a really, really great tool. So point of this, if it doesn't track your sleep, or if it doesn't track your sleep too, your sleep or your activity, you can go in and add activity afterwards at any point. Just make sure that you are aware of what you were doing and when you were doing it, so you can get generally around the time, the same time, so you can have the information as accurate as possible. Okay. So yeah, that's that. Cool. Plugging through here. Okay. Underneath the daily activities is going to be your health monitor. So these are the metrics that you get to decide. Like I said, there's 10 of them. So it's respiratory rate, blood oxygen percentage. Oh no, these are not the ones that you get to choose. Sorry, I lied. These are your key metrics, your key indicators for your recovery and for your stress monitoring. Okay. So respiratory rate, blood oxygen percentage, resting heart rate variability, and your skin temperature. Okay. Now the respiratory rate, this is one of the reasons I was super excited when I got Whoop. Respiratory rate wasn't included. They didn't track that, but as it developed, they did start tracking that. And the respiratory rate was how I found out I had COVID, my recovery score and my respiratory rate. So I took a COVID test and it came up negative twice, but my respiratory rate shot up and my recovery dropped. And that is how I knew that I had COVID. And because I was able to figure that out from my Whoop, they will probably forever have my business. So here are the health indicators. Okay. So your respiratory rate is the amount of breaths per minute while at rest. So all of these indicators are tracked while you're sleeping, because that is your baseline, right? There's nothing that's going to change that much when you're sleeping. That's going to determine your baseline. Okay. It's a general indicator of your cardiovascular fitness. Okay. Underneath that, we have your resting heart rate. Pretty self-explanatory. It's the number of times that your heart beats per minute when you're at rest. It's again an indicator of your cardiovascular health. Underneath that is your skin temperature. Okay. Now it's not your internal body temperature. So remember that it's going to be a little bit different. And this again is determined by your baseline. Your skin temperature is going to be different than somebody else's skin temperature. The way that your body regulates your skin temperature is different. Okay. Temperature, it's the outermost temperature of the surface of your body. It indicates how your body is regulating heat. So some people tend to run warm. Some people tend to run cool. So you will see that your body temperature is going to be different. Now, if you click on any of these in the health monitor tool, it will give you additional information on what it's measuring, how it's measuring it, and what your baseline is. So it will tell you when you're good, when you're like maybe, and when you're in trouble. Okay. So you can always get that information just by clicking on the respiratory rate once you're in this screen. Your blood oxygen measures how much oxygen red blood cells carry. It indicates how well the lungs, heart, and circulatory system are working. Your heart rate variability is the variance or the difference in time between your heartbeats. This is an indicator of how well the body can perform and adapt to its environment. So it's your indicator of how well you can adapt to stress. Okay. And then this is really fun too. I'll show you guys this. If you click on, it's at the very bottom on the right-hand side, it says share your health report. If you click on it, so it's right here. If you click on it, this is what you'll see. You'll get a 30 and a 180-day health report showing your respiratory rate, your resting heart rate, your sleep duration, and your daily aerobic activity. On the 180-day health report, it will also track the activities that you do and how frequently you do them. So if you wanted to bring this to your doctor to be like, hey, look at my resting heart rate, or look at my respiratory rate, or whatever they may need to know, this is a great tool for them to be able to utilize. It's just really helpful. Also looking at your sleep. Okay. That's one of the other things, a key indicator that they're going to look at for your health. If you're sick, they're going to look at how are you sleeping? How much are you working out? What's your resting heart rate? They're going to look at those things. Okay. So you have that available to you. It will be accessible in a PDF file, or you can screenshot it and send it to them as well. So, okay. Whoop is Whoop is a company that a lot of hospitals and research institutes have chosen to work with because of the accuracy of their device. So I will just say that, like, there is definitely error, right? Because it's a device. Okay, there's always error, but the accuracy of the reports and the metrics in Whoop are outstanding. Okay. All right, so that's your health monitor. Those are the 5 key metrics indicators for your recovery and your adaptability to strain. Underneath that, like we said, is the journal information, okay? So it will either say fill out your journal, or it will say new impact unlocked. Ooh, sounds like a new level. Sounds like a video game. Okay. So if you usually, when I open up my Whoop, or when I open up the app, it will like take a minute, and then my journal will automatically pop up in the morning. It's like, fill this out. Okay. This is not a Dear Diary journal. This is a behavioral change journal. It helps you understand what behaviors you are typically showing and how they are affecting you and your recovery. Okay. If you're like, I don't want that right now, I don't have time to do that right now, you can, like I said, go to the plus button and click on my journal. You can do it then. Okay. Otherwise, you can always, if you put something in and you're like, oh, wait, I forgot, that's not right, you can go back, click the plus button, go back to my journal, and you can edit your journal. Okay. Now, what's really cool about the journal is it will automatically populate your previous day's answers. Okay. So when you're filling out your journal, as it says at the top, what happened yesterday? So when you woke up, or when you went to bed last night, or the sun set, where did you dim the lights in the house so you didn't have as much artificial light? When you woke up, did you have natural light right away, or did you have artificial light? Okay. So if these are things that you want to track or you want to measure, you can do that. You get to decide which behaviors you want to track. So in the center, you'll see this is where, so if you click on the settings here, the center here is the entire list of the behaviors that you can track. You don't have to track behaviors that you don't do. Okay. So if you are not taking an ADHD medication, why would you track how that affects you? You don't need to. Okay. If you don't drink alcohol, then maybe you don't put that behavioral pattern there. Okay. If you aren't dealing with anxiety, don't put it there. Okay. So you get to decide what behaviors you track. And then, like I said, it will keep the previous day's responses there. So if it's consistent every day, if you're taking vitamins every day and you track that you're taking vitamins, it will always say that you're taking vitamins. You don't have to tick it again. So if nothing changes from your behavioral patterns from one day to the next, swipe to the bottom, click OK, and you're done. It's that simple. Now, there are some where it's like, did you spend time outside? Okay, you spent time outside. How much time did you spend outside? Because the amount of time that you spend outside is going to play into effect how much fresh air you got, how much grounding you did, things like that. So, and it will say, like, if you spend 30 minutes outside, it doesn't have an effect on your recovery. It's a neutral effect on your recovery. But if you spend an hour and a half outside, it has a positive effect on your recovery. So it can even track where that difference is, or where that pivot point is, where it's helpful or where it's neutral for or harmful to your recovery. Okay. The image on the far right actually shows you your impact report. So it's going to show you, and you'll get this monthly as well. Every month you'll see what behavioral patterns from the month actually helped your recovery. So if I work out, again, now I don't have in my journal, it doesn't ask me, did you work out early? No, it sees where my workouts are and when they are. And it says you're working out earlier than you normally do. When you work out early, it's having an 8% positive impact on your recovery if you work out earlier. Just by tracking. Okay. And then it looks at, okay, so menstruation. So that's one of the tick marks. And sorry, guys, it's just what women do. Okay. All right. So you track if you're menstruating, you can track if you're perimenopausal and how that is affecting you and your recovery. So I track where I'm at in my cycle. But Brian, I will say there's no time face on here. Like I can't tell the time on here. I can't stop or start my music. So if you want that, then you should probably do that. Okay. So I do put my menstruation cycle in when I'm on my cycle. Yep. I'm still menstruating. Okay, cool. All right. So it can track that for me. And with that as well, like we said before, it will tell you how well you are able to adapt to strain, if you're going to get better sleep, stuff like that. That's all in the coaching tool as well. Okay. The journal is amazing. Okay. So if you're not using the journal, you really need to, you don't need to, but it's really going to be helpful if you use the journal, because you're going to see the biggest impact and the biggest return essentially on your investment, on how these behaviors are affecting you. If you don't use the journal, you're not going to see how, like, well, I don't know, I just don't feel good on these days. Okay, well, let's look at why. Okay. All right. So that is the journal. Now the key statistics, these are the ones that you can edit. So you can have whichever ones you want on your home screen. I have chosen my heart rate variability, my sleep performance, my calories, my restorative sleep, and my respiratory rate. Those are ones that I am interested in tracking and seeing daily. You can always see any of them in different parts of the app. It's just which ones do you want on your home screen. So you have those 5. You also have your average heart rate, your hours of sleep, your resting heart rate, your sleep need, and your time in bed. So depending on what your goal is or what you're wanting to look deeper at, you get to set what those are. Now, like I said before, on your recovery and your strain score, you can decide which ones will show up along that score. If you want your heart rate variability or if you want your sleep to be there, you can decide where those go. You put those at the top, and those are the ones that'll show up there. So you guys can decide that for yourself. Like, I know I'm spending not as much time in bed as I am in sleep. So I need to make sure that, I'm really taking a look at that, or I'm not spending enough time in bed before I'm getting sleep. I need to know what my sleep need is, because I'm really bad at making sure that I get to bed on time. So you can decide what you want those things to be. Now you will see there's a little green arrow here, an orange one, and a gray one. The green one means it's an improvement. The orange one means it's not an improvement, okay? A negative trend. And then the gray one means that it is a neutral trend. So off the top, you don't have to recall what yesterday's was or what last week's was. It will tell you if you're trending up or you're trending down. So very cool, very cool. All right. Now, when you click on these individually, so I have heart rate variability and sleep performance here. So if I click on heart rate variability, I'm going to see my data for my heart rate variability. It's going to show me weekly over the course of the last week, over the course of the last month, and over the course of the last 6 months, what my trends are. Okay. So over the week, we have a line graph, and then you'll see as it gets bigger, you can't quite do a line graph anymore. So it'll show you what your trends are. If it's above average, whatnot. Additionally, when you scroll down, there's data there, articles, videos, tools that are helpful to help you understand what heart rate variability is, how they measure it, how can you improve it, just tools that help you with that particular metric, okay? The next one I've got here is sleep performance. So my average over the last 7 days, just like with the heart rate variability, is showing here. My heart rate variability is up 27% from last week. That's awesome. My sleep is up 6% from last week. That's awesome. All of them are trending up. Those are good things. And then it does give you, like I said, feedback. So again, weekly, monthly, and 6 months at a time, you can look at the data. It will show you optimal or sufficient amounts of strain. If you're getting poor amount, or not strain, optimal or sufficient amount of sleep, or if you're getting poor amounts of sleep, it'll show you that over the course of the days or the weeks, depending on which one you choose up here. And then again, at the bottom, you can select, there's just additional information on how they measure your sleep performance, how you can improve your sleep performance. All of the data is there, okay? So much data, it's so great. Okay, the stress monitor. This is a newer tool to Whoop. They added it probably within the last 6 months. It's different than your cardio. It looks at your breathing. It looks at your heart rate. Okay, so it's not just a measure of your heart rate, but your heart rate and your breathing, and takes into account if you're in a stress state. Okay. Your stress state can be physical. So if you see here, this was where I was doing activity today. There's a little man doing a jumping jack. I was working out at that time. So this high stress is because I was working out. Now, if I had high stress like that and there wasn't a little man there, I was under either mental, emotional, or physical stress not related to an activity. And that would be where I'd want to look at, okay, well, what happened and why was what was the stressful situation? How can I either better control my stress in that situation or remove myself from that situation? It does show you your sleep as well, how your strain is or how your stress is in your sleep. Were you doing functional training? Did you have it listed as functional training? Oh, what did you have it listed as, I wonder? I don't know. Oh,
As HIIT.
oh, it's HIIT. This is probably just activity. This probably isn't HIIT. This is probably just activity. I didn't go in and change it to HIIT. So that makes sense. Okay. So you can, again, click on the stress monitor and it will give you additional information. So it's looking at your current state. It will show you where you are currently along that range. It will give you your readout of where it is throughout the last couple of hours. It gives you your coach again. There's more coaching there. And then it will look at your total stress, your sleep stress, and your non-activity stress. Okay. So it will tell you, give you feedback on how stressed you are over the course of the day entirely, during your sleep only, and then when it's non-activity, so not exercise stress. It'll look at how your life is, how stressful your life is outside of activity or how you're able to adapt to it. Okay. And again, just like the other ones, if you scroll down to the bottom, there's information there on your stress, managing your stress, how we're measuring stress. One of the cool things about this is that Dr. Huberman, who works with Stanford, he works with Stanford Lab. He's got amazing, amazing resources. He does Huberman's Lab as a podcast. Really cool. He has worked two different options there. So if you are trying to relax, if you are in a stressful situation and need to relax, or maybe it's before bed, or maybe you're having trouble sleeping or whatever it may be, there is a option. There's a breathing patterns that they have studied neurologically, physiologically. You can do this relaxation technique that will walk you through breathing patterns to help you relax. On the opposite side of that, if you're sitting at your desk at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and you're like, I'm falling asleep, I need some energy, instead of maybe reaching for that coffee, I can't believe I just said that, there are breathing patterns that you can utilize to increase your alertness or to wake you up. So you can do those at your desk as well. So those two tools are there to help you on both ends of the spectrum, depending on what you might need. Okay. Now, this is, like I said, this is the recovery tool, or this is the tool that I appreciate the most. Look at how chaotic it is. It's so chaotic. It's just crazy. So you've got two different lines here. Okay. The solid blue line is your strain. The other line that covers many colors, the line of many colors for me on this week, is your recovery score. So it's showing you how you are balancing your strain and your recovery. Now, for me, I would ideally like these to go together as much as possible. Okay. I want them to mimic each other because I want to be able to balance my strain and my recovery enough. Now, I'm going to have days, and this is how I want it, where my strain is going to be more than my recovery because I do want physical gains. Okay, so if I want physical gains, I need to overwork myself occasionally. Not always, but occasionally. 2, 3, 4 times. If my recovery consistently stays good or stays high, I can push myself more. But if I'm constantly pushing myself and my recovery is getting lower and lower and lower and lower, I need to be careful because it's going to be harder for me to recover, or I'm going to have to work harder in order to get a green recovery because I'm constantly pushing myself so much. So again, this tool, especially for trainers, is really, really helpful because when you're like this day here, I had 28% recovery, but my strain was at a 14.8. Now a 14.8 for me is a pretty average day for the most part. Okay. But if I wake up with a 28% recovery and I have to teach 3 classes that day, I can't be like, sorry guys, not teaching today. Now, some of you guys that have taken class with me when I've had a red day have been like, I am shot today, so I am not going to be doing much with you. I will be doing more coaching today. You've heard me say it, haven't you? right? Now, sometimes I don't have that option. Sometimes I do. If my body feels okay, I will be aware of that 28% or that red recovery score, but I will still push depending on how my body is feeling. Okay. If I'm feeling run down, like today, I have a green recovery, but my balance is off. My body feels heavy. I don't feel good. Okay. Even though my recovery shows that I'm good. Now, I have already exceeded my Optimus Prime. I did in one class. I did one class this morning and I exceeded my Optimus Prime. I still had to teach 2 others, which is fine. It's no big deal. But I felt it and it hit hard. It hit harder than if it was green and I felt good. Okay. So what'll be interesting to see for me tomorrow is what my recovery is tomorrow, knowing how I feel now. And even though I had like a 91% recovery today, my strain, my Optimus Prime, my optimal strain today was at like a 10 or 11. So it's still not 2 strong classes worth of strain that I was able to work at. It was like, you can do like 3 quadrants and then you should be done. Okay. So, but again, that doesn't mean that I just stop. I'm still gonna push myself. I'm just gonna listen to my body as well. And like we've talked about before, this is one of the reasons I love Whoop, is that it does kind of keep me in check with my body. Like I feel tired today, but I have a green recovery, but my optimal strain isn't as high as it should be with the 91% recovery. Okay, so something is a little off today. Something is a little bit off today. So I'm going to be aware of that. I'm going to do my job. I'm still going to work out because it does make my body feel good. But I do just have to be aware of that. So that is that. Now, this is really helpful for those of you that want to just go in the app and just kind of mess around and see what things are. You will oftentimes see either a question mark or this infographic, the information tool. It's all throughout the app and it tells you that there's information here, or it will help you like, hey, there's something like you can look further into this. Okay. So you can always do that if you have questions about things. Or like I said, if you go into the heart rate variability or whatever it may be, and you scroll down, oftentimes it'll give you a direct link to articles or videos that are specific to that content or that topic. So, oh my gosh, you guys. Whoo! Okay. 9 minutes. I had 9 minutes to spare. Do you guys have any questions in regards to the journal or the home screen, in particular, the overview screen? It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot to go through in the first, well, official, I don't know. But that's your home screen, your overview, and your journal. Okay. And look at, you guys, just go in the journal and see what the different options are there, because it may be that you barely need any of them. But it is interesting to definitely track those. If you're curious about the effects of dairy or gluten on your body, track it. Like, oh, I actually didn't have any. I'm gonna be gluten-free today. Okay, let's see how that works and what that does to my body. Oh, interesting. Okay. It's cool to be able to track those things. So yeah. At least I think so, but I'm a big nerd. Yep, I am. So, any questions? Cool. We will break down information. Like I said, this was a general overview on a lot of the topics. So we will go further in depth into the recovery, the sleep, the activities, the strain, heart rate variability. I know is one where people are like, what is it? What? Okay. So we'll look at that. Different ways that you can improve some of those metrics as well. Yeah, we'll definitely look into those things too. So in my stories, I did put a survey of what you guys want to talk about next on What the Whoop. And I mean, they're for you guys. So again, I hope this was helpful for you. For those of you that were on Zoom, the presentation definitely helps, doesn't it? Yeah, it's very pretty. So if if you want to see a pretty presentation, then go on erinnesfit.com and register for the next What the Whoop. The next What the Whoop is going to be on September 25th at 2 p.m. Okay, so you can register for that. The topic is yet to be determined because I haven't seen what the poll results are yet. So mark your calendar for September 25th at 2 p.m. and I'll put the results in the poll, and then we'll see you guys for the next topic then.